What's up, Taiwan? Good evening. I'm Chou with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The first stage of Taiwan's large-scale Kuang military exercises wrapped up on Friday. The exercises were first conducted in 1984 and are designed to prepare the armed forces for an attack from China. The first part of this year's exercises featured a tabletop war game instead of the usual computer simulations, allowing generals to brainstorm strategies face-to-face. The second stage, featuring live-fire drills held around the country, is scheduled for July. For more on the Kuang exercises and what lessons Taiwan's military is drawing from the war in Ukraine, our reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to Yi Shuozhen, director of the Cybersecurity Division at Taiwan's state-run Institute for National Defense and Security Research, or INDSR. He started by asking him about the changes made this year.
This year, what's new is that it becomes to be represented and presented in tabletop form while in graphic form, so that people have a visual, people can see the visual presentation, so that they can grapple with the development of the wargaming and the scenarios with more like a 3D, three-dimensional image. Officers, they can try to have a real sense about what might it be when you have a real-time intelligence.
Can you talk about how the war in Ukraine has either shifted or has led policymakers and military officials in Taiwan to kind of adjust their strategy, given that their smaller Ukraine is battling a much bigger Russia?
The MND in Taiwan has been stressing the significance of asymmetric warfare for years, but the war in Ukraine has been kind of the real test regarding this war-fighting concept. At the strategic level, it is asymmetric war-fighting concept that is at work. So, but there's still a lot to be tested, because in reality check, Taiwan is not Ukraine, and there's a huge difference between the battlefield environment between Taiwan and Ukraine.
Friday marks the start of President Tsai Ing-wen's sixth year in office. And annual polls show that the popularity of Taiwan's leader has dropped as the country grapples with its worst outbreak of COVID-19. The Taiwanese Public Opinion Foundation released its latest poll on Friday, showing the number of people approving of Tsai fell by 5 percentage points from March to 46.2%. It also found that almost half of the more than 1,000 people surveyed, 49.2%, don't believe Tsai's government was well prepared for Taiwan's current COVID wave. U.S. President Joe Biden has kicked off his first tour of Asia since taking office. In the first leg of his trip, South Korea, he toured a semiconductor plant owned by electronics giant Samsung. Biden spoke about the need to secure critical supply chains in light of what he called Russia's unprovoked war in Ukraine. The U.S. president is also scheduled to meet with South Korea's new president, Yoon Suk-yeol. The second part of the 6-day Asian trip will bring Biden to Tokyo to meet with Japanese Prime Minister Kishida. He will also meet with fellow leaders of the Quad, a regional security forum that includes Australia and India. The trip is expected to focus on strengthening Washington's alliances in the region and addressing trade and supply chain issues. To discuss the agenda for Biden's trip to Asia, our reporter in Kavat spoke to Sean King, Senior Vice President of Park Securities and former Asia advisor with the U.S. government. She began by asking about speculation over a possible missile test by North Korea during the trip and warnings from the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan against action from Pyongyang.
I think Jake Sullivan is giving Kim Jong-un reason to really think through any test before he undertakes it. But were there a nuclear test and or ICBM test when President Biden's in the region, or even when he's not, I could see some kind of rotation of U.S. strategic assets in South Korea, be it aircraft carrier, maybe a B-2 bomber, overflight. Anything more than that, I don't think we're going to do anything too drastic in relation to a single test. But either way, I do expect U.S.-South Korea military exercises to go back to their strength before President Trump canceled and suspended them following his first meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in 2018.
Biden is also expected to seek alignment with South Korea and Japan on Taiwan. Now, Japan has voiced strong support for Taiwan's security, but how about South Korea?
Well, this trip is not about Taiwan per se, although I do think it will come up. South Korea is a little more prickly when it comes to Taiwan than Japan is, because South Korea takes less of an Asia-wide security view than Japan does. It tends to be more focused on specifically Korean issues. And when Seoul and Taipei broke diplomatic relations in 1992, it was handled very badly. So I think South Korea will pay lip service to stability in the Taiwan Strait, peace, democracy. I don't think they would ever really get involved in any contingency on Taiwan. For that matter, I don't expect Japan to actually fight in Taiwan, but I do think that they would support U.S. troops in Japan as they do anything they feel they have to on Taiwan. But South Korea will definitely keep a distance from anything on Taiwan.
You say that the trip is not about Taiwan, but my understanding is that it's about building the US-led alliance in Asia and to send the message to China not to try a Ukraine either on Taiwan or in the region.
Well, the U.S. alliance network in Asia is bilateral in nature, hub and spoke, not collective alliance like NATO in Europe. You know, I don't think Beijing is on the cusp of any Taiwan invasion anyway. I didn't think that before Russia invaded Ukraine. I don't think it now. Whatever the case, I think what's happened in Ukraine has bought Taiwan some time because Beijing looks at Moscow's mistakes and maybe thinks it needs to be more careful if it were to try anything on Taiwan. But I don't consider an invasion of Taiwan imminent. And again, Taiwan will be discussed, but it will not be the focal point of this trip.
2 hunters have admitted to killing an endangered Formosan black bear in the mountains of Nantou in central Taiwan. Local officials say the suspects turned themselves in last Thursday. They have been charged with violating the Wildlife Conservation Act and released on bail. Police also confiscated a homemade firearm and ammunition. Earlier this month, the Forestry Bureau sent out a search team after losing the signal from the bear's satellite tracking collar. They found its body buried in a wooded area with the collar removed. The Formosan black bear is an endangered species and protected under Taiwanese law. Conservationists believe as few as 200 of the bears remain in the wild. Taiwanese boxer Lin Yuting has struck gold at the IBA Women's World Boxing Championship in Istanbul. In the featherweight division final, Lin beat Irma Testa of Italy in a split decision over 3 rounds. This is Lin's second world championship title. She won her first in the bantamweight division in 2018. She also has 2 Asian championship golds to her name. More than 1,000 artworks are on display at the Taipei Dangdai Art Fair, which runs through this weekend. This year's art fair is a hybrid event with 62 international and local galleries participating in exhibitions both in person and online. Visitors to this year's show at the Taipei World Trade Center will see art by 200 artists. There are solo artist exhibits and digital content like NFTs. Last year, the fair was forced to go entirely online due to the COVID pandemic, but organizers hope that this year's physical event will attract more buyers to the art market. Taipei Dangdai was founded in 2019 by Magnus Renfrew, who used to serve as founding director of Art Basel in Hong Kong. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from here in Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of the endangered loggerhead sea turtles released in Taidong, southern Taiwan on Friday. The Coast Guard has implanted a satellite transmitter in the turtle, hoping to get a better understanding of its movements in the waters near Taiwan. I've been Joey Chou. Have a great night, and I'll catch you on the flip side.